Welcome to the ELI5Bot channel, where we read 10 random questions and their most voted answers related to mathematics, economics, culture, biology, technology and many more. Disclaimer.
All the material used on this channel is owned and/or copyrighted by either an individual or company, or available on the public domain. This channel may contain offensive, aggressive, and rude language or graphic content. ELI5Bot holds no responsibility for those who may be affected by it.
Viewer discretion is advised.
Wait. What? P.S. Don't panic. At number 1, in the category Other, the user Maricon asks, "What's the point of fishing tournaments?" The reply comes from /178. No, catching fish is not completely up to chance. Professional fishermen and fishing guides have a tremendous breadth of knowledge about fish habits, where they are, best places, what to put on your line, how to cast, trolling, etc. etc. Their knowledge, experience, and skill leads to much higher catch rates than any random person who tries to Google some tips. There is still a quite big element of chance, but that applies to many things. And at number 2, in the category Other, the user Johnson asks, "Why are movies based on games, and vice versa, usually terrible and don't live up to the standard created by their influence?" Which the user Sharkalian replied, "If you want the basic answer, it's simply because movies based on games, or games based on movies are usually thinly veiled cash-ins on the original franchise. Not always the case, but often is. Therefore the effort isn't put into them to the same degree. Of course, like any generalization, there are exceptions, but that's pretty much the long and short of it." At number 3, in the category Physics, the user Thavisi0nary asks, "Is this an example of a dynamic equilibrium? If it isn't a type of equilibrium, what would the correct word be?" The reply comes from SoulSoda. A dynamic equilibrium is used to define when a reversible reaction ceases to change anything. You have Group A and Group B. Dynamic equilibrium is achieved when the ratio of Group A and ratio of Group B stop changing. Group A and B are still mixing and changing into one another, but the ratios have achieved equilibrium. This is mostly used in chemistry. Also, energy is always in equilibrium, as total net energy should never change. Law of conservation of energy. So if you have a closed universe system, there is a total net energy that will never change, as it is neither created nor destroyed. And at number 4, in the category Biology, the user Nam4Life is looking to know, "What causes a sty in the eye?" Skip Weasel answered the following: "It's an infection of the wonderfully named glands of eyes, which are sebaceous glands which lubricate and clean your eyelashes. Basically, it's a pimple on your eyelash socket." And at number 5, in the category Economics, the user Excel Knight is looking to know the concept of solvency. The reply comes from $914. "Basically, is what I own worth enough to pay my debts? If yes, you're solvent. If not, you're insolvent. If my business has a ton of debt and selling off all of our assets couldn't pay off the debt, we'd be insolvent." At number 6, in the category Economics, the user Kimchi11 asks, "ELI5, the final rule with wage and amp. Our division." Telethesage answered the following: "The Fair Labor Standards Act, which is what this rule is about, categorizes employees as either exempt or non-exempt for overtime. If you are non-exempt, your employer has to pay you time and a half for every hour you work over 40 in a week-long period. If you are exempt, there is no such overtime requirement. There are quite a few rules for determining whether an employee is exempt or not. Generally, you have to make above a certain salary level to be considered exempt, as well as perform certain job duties. If you make less than that salary level, you are very likely non-exempt. Currently, the salary level is $455/week. The new rule would make it $913/week. A few jobs are considered exempt regardless of the salary level, such as teachers, lawyers, doctors, and sales employees. TL. Drive. If you make under $47,476 per year, you would likely be considered non-exempt and would be eligible for overtime pay starting December 1st, but there are some exceptions. And at number 7, in the category Biology, the user Paul_Caspian asks, if the function of life is to grow, reproduce, and continue indefinitely, how does that explain diseases that kill the host? Telethesage answered the following. Successful viruses and parasites don't kill their hosts before they're able to multiply and find another host. A lot of parasites weaken the host, but not so much that the host can't continue living. And some parasites will make their hosts do bizarre things in order to facilitate the parasite's reproduction, like the parasite that makes ants stand on grass at night so they get eaten. Similarly, viruses tend to multiply a lot and get passed on before they kill their hosts. For example, HIV will kill its host if left unchecked, but the host won't display symptoms for several years in most cases, which is plenty of time to pass the virus on. Cancer is not considered a separate life form. It's caused by changes in your cells that make them grow and divide uncontrollably. Cancer is more similar to your own machinery messing up than it is to an outside invader trying to hijack your body's machinery. And at number 8, in the category Economics, the user Cosprey is looking to know, how can the USA sustain a negative foreign trade balance? The reply comes from $914. I buy more stuff from the supermarket than they buy from me. It's about as sustainable as that. There's nothing unsustainable about imports exceeded exports. Up next at number 9, in the category Other, the user Jake40509 asked, European Football Championships, there's a bunch. Like a podium powder answered the following. There used to be national club leagues and 3 European club competitions, European Cup, the big one. The ultimate prize. Run by UEFA, you could only enter if you had won your national league the previous season. UEFA Cup, if you finished runner-up in your domestic league the previous season, you ended up in this competition. European Cup Winners' Cup, you got to enter this if you had won your national cup competition the previous season. A cup is a knockout competition, so it takes less skill and more luck to win it compared to placing highly in a league competition, so the entrants were generally not the best teams in the land. This was straightforward and fair. But money rules. Big clubs got annoyed that they weren't automatically in the big money European Cup every year, so UEFA opened it up and allowed some second-place teams from some countries in, then third and even fourth-place teams, and added group stages, until it became the Champions League. This further diluted the secondary cups, so they got merged into the Europa Cup, and teams that failed to qualify for the later stages of the Champions League get shunted into the Europa Cup now. Up next at number 10, in the category Physics, the user Granders_Flatunis asked, why is the orbital and rotation period of all moons exactly the same number? Which the user Stuthalu replied, I assume you mean, why do moons become tidally locked one orbit per revolution around their partner? This is because the planet exerts an unequal gravitational pull across the body of the moon, raising bulges on the near and far side. As the moon tries to orbit faster or slower, the planet keeps pulling on the bulge towards its strongest, and away from it weakest, to keep it towards the planet. Since the crust of the moon can't flow easily, the bulges move out of alignment on the planet, creating an unequal torque which eventually slows or accelerates the moon into a tidally locked state. The reverse is also true. The Earth would eventually be tidally locked to the moon, but because the Earth is so much more massive, it will take far longer to occur, and in fact the Sun is likely to destabilize or destroy the system before that can occur. Note that this is a gradual process and can take more or less time depending on the masses of the involved bodies. That's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.